Pro Group Management. Workers' comp that works for you.
I'm Randi Thompson, sitting in for Sam Shad on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers today. We're talking with Colin Robertson and Tom Clark about the new Division of Outdoor Recreation. Coming up next on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers.
Liberals Steve Sisolak and Aaron Ford. Socialism out of control. Releasing violent criminals, special interests over our children, and crippling shutdowns on small businesses. It's time for a conservative approach. Republican Tisha Black. A mom who will put our kids first. A self-made businesswoman who will stop government overreach. And Tisha backs the blue. She'll get tough on crime. Tisha Black, the conservative choice for Attorney General.
Retail's impact on Nevada's economy? Enormous. 8,600 businesses, large and small, employing 145,000 workers. And last fiscal year, retail paid tax on nearly $60 billion in sales. We're the Retail Association of Nevada. We support retail, we help it grow, and we mean business.
RANNV.org.
The Nevada Builders Alliance has been protecting the interests of the construction industry for over 50 years. Our programs save members thousands of dollars every year and allow them to provide much-needed benefits to their employees. Our industry also allows Nevada to grow. If you're thinking about a career in the construction industry, reach out. And if you haven't thought of a career in construction, what are you waiting for? We are the Nevada Builders Alliance.
Do you play golf? The Optimist Club of Reno is hosting the inaugural Ray Pezzanella Memorial Charity Golf Tournament on June 3rd at the Lake Course at Red Hawk Golf and Resort. For more information, go to pezgolf.org. Funds raised go to benefit local children's programs.
Nevada Newsmakers Studio is located at the headquarters of the Nevada Trucking Association. Motion and purpose are a truck's greatest virtue.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And we're back on Nevada Newsmakers with a first-timer, Colin Robertson. Got to make sure I get that right. You're the administrator for the Nevada Division of Outdoor Recreation. And with him is Tom Clark of Tom Clark Solutions, who actually lobbied to create this position. So it's kind of an interesting dynamic. So tell us a little bit about you and about the office.
Thanks, Randi. Well, the Division of Outdoor Recreation was created in the 2019 legislative session through the Assembly Bill 486, and it created an Office of Outdoor Recreation in Nevada that is part of what's called the Confluence of States. It's a group of 13, soon to be 16 states across the country that have formal offices of outdoor recreation, and I have the great privilege and honor to be the founding administrator of that division, which is an extremely exciting role, but it's also just very important for Nevada. We know that a lot of people in Nevada choose to live here because of the high quality of life associated with outdoor recreation across the entire state. And enhancing and optimizing those opportunities for Nevadans is a key part of our mission.
That's great. So, Tom, you and I actually, because I'm on the board of Sky Tavern, I actually testified in favor of this bill that you ran. But there was I remember walking in the hallway one day with you, and you said, okay, I said, how's it going? You said, well, it's somewhere between, where do we put the office, in tourism or in conservation? And of course, I'm rooting for tourism because I have been an advocate for outdoor recreation since I was a kid. Tell us a little bit about that, I guess, tussle over which division this was going into.
So, Randi, you'd like to know how the sausage is made down in
Yeah,
Carson
exactly,
City.
without a lot of detail.
Yes. So, the group of conservationists and the Nevada Outdoor Business Coalition, which I represented at the time, and still do, we were having this conversation about an office of outdoor recreation and where would it sit. And Director Kroll from DCNR was part of those conversations. And of course, he was really ambivalent as to whether it went into his department or if it went somewhere else. It was really the importance of making it happen and getting it done. Colin mentioned the confluence of states. We relied heavily on those states, especially Colorado, Idaho, New Mexico, and Oregon. How did you guys do these kinds of offices? And some of them had it in economic development, some of them had it in tourism, some of them had it embedded in their state parks. But they were just offices. And so in the negotiations with legislators, Maggie Carlton, who introduced the bill and was also chairwoman of Ways and Means, she was kind of ambivalent about it as well. But in talking with legislators and in talking about what this office was going to do, conservation of natural resources seemed like a more natural fit. Now, the benefit of that is that it wasn't going to be just an office inside the Department of Tourism. It was going to be a division within conservation of natural resources. Okay. I saw the opportunity, and other stakeholders, to embed this division in statute, which would make it very difficult in a downturn to get rid of it. If this was an office within tourism during the pandemic, it probably would have gone away because there wouldn't have been the budget to support it. Being a division within conservation and natural resources, we were able to preserve the division because it's embedded in statute. And while Colin, the statute allowed for him to hire 2 people, he didn't get to do that. He's ramping up for that now. But it turns out that it's a much more comfortable place for this division because Colin has his fingers right down the hall. He's got state parks and the other 9 divisions within conservation and natural resources that are relevant to the work that he's doing on outdoor rec.
So you're balancing protecting the environment, protecting our public lands that we all use to recreate on, with tourism, and that's got to be a challenge, I would think. How are you addressing that?
It's a great question, Randy. It's the wonderful thing about outdoor recreation is how many different kinds of benefits it has to the public and to Nevadans and to our visitors. We know well that Nevada has about a $4 billion economic impact from outdoor recreation annually. A lot of that is tied to visitors coming to communities across the state. But we also know, as a result of the pandemic and COVID-19, that the importance of outdoor recreation in terms of people's mental and physical health and just getting outside was one of the handful of things that we could do safely and have sort of the benefits to both mental and physical health that represented. But we, in the process, saw the people come out of the woodwork in order to get outside, and they could do so across our 87% of our state's area that's managed by federal agencies. And there were significant impacts from that, in part because those federal agencies don't have the resources, both personnel-wise and fiscally, to be able to manage for the kind of visitation that they experienced as a result of the pandemic. So we work really closely with those federal agency partners and our state land management agency partners to advocate for responsible recreation messaging, and with Travel Nevada, the Department of Tourism and Cultural Affairs, to be able to message out to the public the importance of recreating responsibly and taking care of the public lands that we have in spades here in Nevada.
Okay, well, I know you've signed recently a shared stewardship with the federal government. We'll talk about that right after this.
Politicians, they hide behind commercials and social media, trying to act tough. A bunch of keyboard cowboys. They talk tough about immigration, but none of them have locked up or deported a single violent criminal. Not one. I've deported thousands. They closed schools, tied the hands of police, and wrecked our economy. I'm Joe Lombardo. I'm running for governor because we can do better. Nevada deserves better. Let's take our state back.
Joe Lombardo for governor.
Ahern Rentals began as Signal Gas Station on Las Vegas Boulevard. Founder John Ahern grew the business by offering rentals. His son Don built on John's legacy, growing Ahern Rentals into the largest independently owned American rental company with 89 locations in 30 states. Don also brought his experience and vision to equipment manufacturing with Extreme Manufacturing and Snorkel. Today, Ahern Rentals continues to bring its family values to a new generation. Learn more at ahern.com.
As you know, Reno is booming. Toll's development company is helping it grow with insightful design and development, building community with every project, adding beauty, adding excitement, emphasizing our shared humanity. Reno is becoming bigger. Toll's development is helping it become better, more livable, more enjoyable. To learn more, go to tollsdevelopment.com. tollsdevelopment.com. I'm here at the Carson Valley Inn in Minden with Joey Whitaker. Entertainment here at the Carson Valley Inn is extraordinary.
Yeah, super proud of the TJ's Corral, our outdoor venue, about 1,500 seats. We've had first-class entertainment out there. We've had Merle Haggard, we've had Chris Young, we've had Lee Bryce a couple times, we've had Pat Benatar, Joan Jett, who's in the Hall of Fame. We're real proud out there, and it's just a great time. Watch CarsonValleyInn.com and grab those tickets early. It's not a long way to get away to the Carson Valley Inn.
Don't miss the $200,000 Big Cash giveaways at Tamarack Casino through May 28th. One $10,000 Big Cash winner guaranteed every Saturday, plus over $60,000 in grand prize giveaways. The $200,000 Big Cash giveaways at Tamarack Casino.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And we're back on Nevada Newsmakers with Tom Clark and Colin Robertson. So you were talking a little bit about shared resources and essentially funding that is always needed. We think of so much of our recreational area, while it's close to urban areas, like you were saying, a Red Rock, let's say, a lot of it is in the rurals. It's the Ruby Mountains and counties that don't necessarily have the funds to really protect the wild lands that people are using. So how is this shared agreement with the federal government? First, explain that a little bit, and then is there a funding mechanism that might help our more rural areas?
It's a great question, Randy. The Nevada Agreement for Recreation Shared Stewardship came about over the course of the pandemic. It sort of evolved from federal and state land management agencies getting on a call at initially every week to try to address the challenges associated with the increased visitation and the stringent guidelines for visitors and so forth, and ultimately evolved to be discussions about strategy and how to leverage resources and amplify investments in outdoor recreation infrastructure in particular across federal and state land management agencies. And Governor Sisolak signed that agreement on March 23rd and was signed by every state and federal land management agency operating in Nevada, plus the Nevada Department of Tourism and Cultural Affairs and the Nevada Department of Transportation for their integral roles in shaping how, when, and where people recreate in Nevada. And obviously that has really important implications across the state in the rural communities of our state because they are oftentimes the gateway to some of Nevada's most beloved outdoor recreation opportunities, the High Shell Range or the Ruby Mountains, as you pointed out. Mm-hmm. Those are places that people love to go in Nevada, and the communities that are sort of the entry points to those recreational opportunities have really important needs and opportunities to take advantage of those natural assets in sort of their approach to community and economic development strategies in those places.
So you're with the Outdoor Business Group. It's interesting to read how the Tahoe Fund and Tahoe Vodka just coordinated this incredible cleanup of Lake Tahoe.
Right.
So we're seeing this really great dynamic of the business community working with the government to make some changes. How are you guys, how's your group working with this office?
So we have very regular calls, the board of directors for the Nevada Outdoor Business Coalition and with Colin, to just coordinate activity that's taking place. Whether it be the allocation of federal dollars, whether it be what areas really need to have some emphasis on them. And then from a business community, we want those folks to come. We want to spread them out around rural parts of the state, but we also want to see small businesses pop up in places like Ely and Elko and Winnemucca, Battle Mountain, Tonopah for sure. I mean, they are, as Colin says, the gateways to a lot of these outdoor recreational opportunities. And when you think outdoor recreation, you might be thinking hiking and biking and kayaking and that kind of stuff. Well, it's also hunters, sportsmen, fishermen, those other types of outdoor recreation that we've been doing for hundreds of years here in the state of Nevada. There's business there, and there's a common thread among all of those industries that rely on our outdoors. And so the Business Coalition works very closely with Colin just to make sure that we're communicating back and forth. And we have our own shared common goal of not only do we want to attract people to come and play. And it's important to note too that we're not just talking about attracting people from outside of Nevada. It's attracting people from urban areas, Washoe and Clark, into some of these places. I like to say I also serve on the Friends of Black Rock High Rock Board of Directors. That's the NCA up north where Burning Man happens. Mm-hmm. I tell people, look, when you're feeling down, hop in your car, drive for an hour, look up, because it's just amazing, especially at night. And there's dark skies legislation that Colin worked on this last legislative session that will help improve those kinds of things. The Outdoor Business Coalition is working closely with his office, not just on how do we do this work with tourism and economic development, but what are the policies that need to be shaped at the legislative level and at the regulatory level to ensure that they don't over-legislate and over-regulate, that is, that we truly enjoy here in the state of Nevada.
Well, and part of the shared stewardship is developing a strategic plan for achieving a lot of your outdoor recreational goals. How is that planning coming along? Have you started that process?
There's a core group of agency leaders from across the federal and state land management agencies that are kind of collaborating on the framework for that plan, and then the way that the shared stewardship agreement was developed in the first place was that there's sort of like a leadership group of all the heads of those federal and state land management agencies operating in Nevada, and then that plan will be sort of it's basically a proposal back to that leadership group of how that can move forward across the goals of the identified goals and commitments associated with the agreement, which is visible and located on the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources website at the homepage for the Division of Outdoor Recreation. Those kind of action items and objectives will be collectively developed and then shared out with the group to make sure that there's alignment about those elements being the pieces that we want to move forward on. A key component of that shared stewardship agreement is the economic, sort of sustainable economics of rural communities in Nevada, and working toward identifying opportunities to foster and support outdoor recreation related businesses in communities across the state. And that's where our collaboration becomes really integral and important, because we want to foster and support the businesses that are already doing great work in the state for outdoor recreation and employing north of 50,000 people across the state. Wow. But we also want to try to recruit and retain additional businesses in the outdoor recreation sector for the benefits to those communities where they locate. And on top of that, make sure that we are working with our economic development partners at GOED and in the regional development authorities to recognize the importance that outdoor recreation has for recruiting and retaining all kinds of business in the state, because every company in this state can recruit and retain more people with better outdoor recreation infrastructure at hand.
Well, I know Mike Kazmierski from EDON would totally agree with you on that one.
Mike is a champion of trails, and that's an incredibly important and valuable thing.
It is. And we'll be talking about the Advisory Council next and why there aren't more users on that right after this.
Liberals Steve Sisolak and Aaron Ford. Socialism out of control. Releasing violent criminals, special interests over our children, and crippling shutdowns on small businesses. It's time for a conservative approach. Republican Tisha Black, a mom who will put our kids first, a self-made businesswoman who will stop government overreach, and Tisha backs the blue. She'll get tough on crime. Tisha Black, the conservative choice for Attorney General.
Southwest Specialties has been making the homes and businesses of Nevada beautiful for more than 20 years. Their experienced designers and craftsmen create the walkways, backyards, water features, and a variety of outdoor cooking areas that add curb appeal and value to your investment. Call today or visit them at their website and see how they can make your outdoor spaces special. Southwest Specialties, creative, distinctive, beautiful.
Modern boutique Ahern Hotel and Events Center in Las Vegas. Host meetings and events on 2 floors. Stay in luxurious rooms and suites. Unlimited branding opportunities. Regional Italian cuisine by Chef Mark Segrisi. Flexible event spaces. Full buyout options. Visit ahernhotel.com today.
Hi, I'm Renee Summerauer, digital news anchor here at 7 at 7. Watch our streaming nonstop newscast immediately with your mobile phone. 7 at 7 is the new way for you to get every bit of local news you need in just 7 minutes. Breaking news, local neighborhood news, weather, and sports are just a click away. Reporters bring you all of what's happening in the Valley. From Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, YouTube, and more. Get every bit of local news you need from the RJ and LVRJ.com.
Everyone is talking about opioids, but they're not the only drugs that can be harmful if taken in large quantities or not as prescribed. You also need to be aware of side effects from anxiety drugs, muscle relaxants, sleep aids, and stimulants. Mixing prescription drugs with other drugs or alcohol can be dangerous. If you take an Ambien with a glass of wine, it may be enough to stop you from breathing. Prescribed drugs can be just as dangerous as illegal drugs. Take medications only as directed.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers with Tom Clark and Colin Robertson, and we're talking about the Nevada Division of Outdoor Recreation. So there is an advisory board, and I looked at this advisory board, and it's, well, a bunch of bureaucrats, in my opinion. So you've got you've got GO-ED on here, you've got conservation, you've got tourism, you've got wildlife. But as a user of outdoor recreation, I don't see a user on this advisory board. And I'm going to put the question to Tom: is, since you're the creator of this legislation, how are users represented? Why aren't they represented on the advisory board? And I guess as you're doing the strategic planning process, how are you engaging the public? But I'll start with you on why aren't users more part of this advisory committee?
So as we were, and I mentioned earlier that we had worked with the confluence of states, and we had worked with these other states that had created these offices of outdoor recreation. And when they put their advisory boards together, the number one caution that they gave us was don't make it too big. Colorado, for example, when they created their office, they had 54 members of their advisory board because they refused to say no to all of those other user groups that wanted to participate. Now, we know that nothing gets done when you have a committee that large. So we made the policy decision, working with legislators, not just me out there by myself, that we would limit it to the people that we knew from a policy perspective needed to be on the advisory board. So that's what is there. We couldn't include the OHV community, the horsebacking community. My phone was blowing up with everybody who wanted to be a member of the advisory board. And we just, from a policy perspective, wanted the board itself to be something chaired by the lieutenant governor, which brings in tourism and economic development, and set agendas so that all of those stakeholder groups would have a voice. And so, we'll talk about OHVs, we'll talk about backpacking, we'll talk about hunters and anglers and things like that on the agenda of the advisory board. And to date, that's worked pretty well. It gives those stakeholder groups, those user groups, an opportunity to voice their opinion on certain policies and things that are moving forward, those things that Colin is focused on from the division's perspective. There was one change that Colin brought forward in the last legislative session. We didn't make the policy to make one of the advisory board members specific to rural Nevada. And it really was a timing perspective at the end of a legislative session. Couldn't amend the bill. We really needed to just move things forward. Colin came back and fixed that in the 2021 legislative session. Now there is a member specific to rural Nevada. Good. So, it's an evolution of things. And as you know, when we pass legislation, it's never perfect. Yep. You never make everybody 100% happy. But I think that the construct of what AB 486 did, creating the division, creating the advisory board, really set the groundwork and the infrastructure for us and for Colin to move forward in making this outdoor recreation industry, a star in our state.
I might add that then the work of the division is in those communities and in those user groups. So there are all kinds of conversations happening with user groups and clubs and in the communities. So for example, in Ely on March 30th, we had a community meeting with 60 different stakeholders representing the Forest Service and the BLM, who manage all the land adjacent to Ely, but then also with all the user groups who were stakeholders in the community. And that's the kind of work that the division's engaged with on a regular basis.
Well, we're going to wrap it up, but how do people learn more about this?
You can visit the page on the DCNR website, ndor.nv.gov, Endor.
Indoor, okay.
.nv.gov.
Nevada Division of Outdoor Recreation. Okay,
There you
great.
go.
Well, thank you for your work. Thank you for creating this. I'm very excited being an outdoor enthusiast, and we have a beautiful Nevada to share. So thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you so much, Randy.
We'll be right back after this.
Each day, the Children's Advocacy Alliance partners with leaders, legislators, and families across Nevada to improve children's health, education, economic well-being, and safety. We recognize Nevada will be no better than the state of its children. Be a part of this change. Be a supporter of the Children's Advocacy Alliance. For more information, go to caanv.org.
With Nevada's only transplant center and verified burn center, the science is here. With award-winning cardiologists and the state's only dedicated heart failure clinic, the talent is here. With Nevada's most advanced robotic surgery, the technology is here. And with the Silver State's only designated pediatric trauma center, hope is here. All because we are here. UMC.
Early in the morning or throughout the night, professional truck drivers are on the job, serving you, safely moving freight that's crucial to our economy. From the oldest industries to our newest innovators, from the exotic to the everyday, trucks are everywhere, moving everything. Never afraid to embrace a future that makes Nevada and our nation stronger. Trucking moves America forward.
What do you count on? You count on your power every day. At NV Energy, we've always powered what's important to you, but we're not looking at the past. We're focused on the future. While our standards are high, our rates will remain low. And our commitment to renewables isn't just meeting standards, but leading the way. Because you can count on more than just your power. You can count on the company who brings it to you. That's our promise. You can count on it.
Pro Group Management specializes in providing industries with the necessary components to satisfy and exceed workers' comp requirements. Every business has unique needs and specific regulations. Pro Group Management stays ahead of the curve, providing up-to-date services to keep your industry in top form. Discover how we simplify your tasks, improve efficiency, and reduce expense to keep you moving in a positive direction. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
I'm here at the Carson Valley Inn in Minden with Joey Whitaker. One of the things I love about the Carson Valley Inn here in beautiful downtown Minden is CV steak. I have eaten here so many times. Tell folks what they can expect when they come here to eat.
It's a beautiful room, great service. We have certified Angus beef, seafood, lamb, a great range of appetizers, and wonderful desserts. Jean-Michel's done a great job of selecting some beautiful wines for us. The customers love it, and we've got a great selection of cocktails as well. It's not a long way to get away to the Carson Valley Inn.
A bird's eye captures its surroundings at different heights. At Brian Culpa Photography, we can make your imagination soar over buildings, parks, cityscapes, and beyond. Brian's images tell the story and get the job done. If you need a new perspective to tell your story, contact Brian today. Brian Culpa Photography. Experience the bird's eye view at brianculpaphotography.com. As always, you can watch Nevada Newsmakers 24 hours a day at nevadanewsmakers.com. You can also check our archive going back to 2005 on our website, again, nevadanewsmakers.com. We'll see you on the next one.